Today we are getting into a really charged topic. It's one that sits right between, fast results and some pretty serious ethical questions. We're talking about electronic no-bark collars, and we're going to zero in on the electrical pulse type, the shock collars.
Exactly. And our mission today is pretty straightforward. We've pulled together purchasing guides, some scientific data, market trends, all to give you the full context. We really want to weigh the claims from people who support them against, well, the very real criticisms and risks. The goal is for you to be able to make an informed choice.
Okay, so let's just start with a basic definition.
Yeah.
When we say bark collar, what are we actually talking about?
We're talking about a tool that uses negative reinforcement. So it introduces a mild discomfort to stop a behavior, in this case, the excessive barking.
And the shock part, how does that work?
It's a mechanism that detects the specific vibration in the dog's vocal cords when it barks. When it does, it delivers a very brief, low-level electrical pulse.
Now, I've heard the sensation compared to, what is it, static electricity?
That's the common comparison from manufacturers, yeah.
Yeah.
They say it's like shuffling your feet on a carpet and then touching a metal doorknob. Just a little jolt.
A little jolt, but it's so controversial that entire countries have just banned them,
Right.
like Australia.
That's right. They're completely outlawed there. And that tells you the debate is a lot deeper than just a mild static shock.
It has to be.
It is. The controversy isn't just about the physical feeling. It's about the whole training philosophy behind it. If you're using pain or discomfort to stop a behavior, you have to ask a bigger question.
Which is,
What's causing the behavior in the first place?
that's the fundamental issue here, isn't it?
Hmm.
If the collar is just treating a symptom, we need to know the cause. So what does the source material say? Why do dogs bark excessively?
It really falls into a few major buckets. You have the obvious one, territorial barking, a strange person, another animal, that sort of thing.
Sure, protection mode.
Exactly. But a huge cause is actually learned behavior. A dog barks, and it gets any kind of attention from you, even if you yell at it. The dog just learns, hey, this works. Any attention is better than no attention at all.
And I'm guessing anxiety is a big piece of that puzzle too.
Yeah.
Especially, when an owner leaves.
Oh, without a doubt. Separation anxiety is a massive trigger. The dog starts barking the moment the owner is gone and might not stop for hours. The collar might stop the noise, but it doesn't fix the panic underneath.
So before anyone even thinks about this kind of hardware, our sources all point to one mandatory first step.
Yes. The vet visit. It's non-negotiable. Before you start any behavior program, you have to rule out medical issues.
Like what?
Dogs can bark from pain, from deafness, even brain diseases or cognitive problems. And you should absolutely not be trying to solve those kinds of medical issues with a shock collar.
That's a critical distinction to make. And I think we should also say the goal here is to discourage unnecessary barking, not stop it completely. Barking is a natural thing for dogs to do.
It is. And even if you do all that, you rule out medical causes, you figure out the trigger, the tool itself isn't even a guarantee.
What do you mean?
Well, this is where the data gets a little sobering. We found a study from Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine. They tested 8 dogs with these collars. 4 of them, half showed absolutely no reduction in barking, a 50% failure rate, despite significant testing.
50%. Wow, that really pushes back on the whole magic bullet idea. Okay, so let's unpack the trade-offs. Why do owners still reach for them?
Speed. The big pro is that when they're used correctly, they can get really good results and fast, like in a matter of days.
So for an owner who's at their wit's end,
For them, yeah, especially if they've tried positive reinforcement and other methods that didn't work, the sources say these collars are sometimes seen as the only real alternative.
but that speed comes with a cost,
Mm.
a psychological one. So what are the big cons, the major risks we see in the research?
There are a few layers here. First is just the ethical piece. Training with discomfort, it's all about punishment instead of rewarding good behavior.
And then there's the human element.
The owner risk, yeah. These are tools. And in the hands of someone who's inexperienced or impatient or just plain angry, they can cause real damage or injury.
And even if they're used perfectly, as designed, there are still negative effects observed, right?
Yes. The studies show that even those low-level shocks can trigger really profound distress or fear. We're talking about specific, observable behaviors.
What kind of behaviors?
Things like hiding, biting, trembling, yelping, even cowering, struggling, urinating, defecating, or just freezing in place.
Wow. Those are not subtle signs of distress. if your goal is to modify behavior, creating that kind of fear seems like it would backfire, especially in an already anxious dog.
It absolutely can, and that brings up another huge problem, the technical risk, a false correction.
What's that?
It's when the collar punishes the dog for no reason. Maybe the microphone malfunctions or another dog barks nearby and sets it off.
So your dog gets a shock for something it didn't even do.
Exactly. And if that dog is already fearful, a random, unearned shock can make things so much worse. It can increase fear, even aggression, because the dog can't figure out what's causing the pain.
So manufacturers must be aware of this tension between the need for a quick fix and the risk of, well, psychological damage. How is the market adapting? Are they trying to engineer the controversy out of the collar?
That's a perfect way to put it. And that's exactly what PetSafe, which is the big player in this market, is trying to do. Their standard collars already try to mitigate the harm.
How so?
They use a warning beep first, then up to 6 levels of progressive correction, and they have a safety shutoff. If the dog barks more than 15 times in 50 seconds, the collar just stops. It shuts off and only resets after 3 minutes.
But the real innovation, the thing that addresses that false correction problem, is their patented perfect bark technology, isn't it?
That's the game changer. They use it in their deluxe models and the specialized ones for like big dogs or little dogs. It requires dual verification, meaning it will only deliver a correction when it detects both the sound of the bark and the physical vibration from the dog's vocal cords at the same time.
Ah, I see. So a neighbor's dog barking won't set it off.
Exactly. Or just jostling the collar. It's designed specifically to stop those unjust punishments. That's a really important detail because it directly addresses one of those core psychological risks.
And they've refined the correction levels themselves too, I read.
They have. The big and little dog collars use, I think, 10 levels of what they call light touch correction. The deluxe collars go all the way up to 18 levels and even have a temperament learning system.
What did that do?
It automatically adjusts the intensity based on how your specific dog is responding. So the tech is definitely getting more sophisticated to try and be effective while minimizing distress.
So that's the shock side of things. But what about non-shock alternatives? What does the source material say about those?
There are really 2 main types. You've got non-shock collars, like the ultralight sonic ones. They're tiny, they only weigh an ounce, which is great for small dogs.
And instead of a pulse, they just make a noise.
A loud, harmless sound. Yeah. It's meant to startle the dog and interrupt the barking.
Okay, and what about options that aren't collars at all?
That would be the ultrasonic outdoor bark collar. PetSafe makes one that's disguised as a little decorative birdhouse. You hang it in your yard.
And it just listens.
It detects barking from up to 50 feet away and then sends out a high-pitched ultrasonic sound that we can't hear, but dogs can. It was actually featured in the Wall Street Journal way back in 2007. It can work on your dog, a neighbor's dog.
Interesting. And then there's the last option, the citronella collars.
Right. They spray a puff of citronella in the dog's face. But the source material is pretty clear that they're not usually nearly as effective as the electronic kind. Some dogs just don't care about the spray at all. They aren't as reliable.
Okay, so we've gone through the vet check, the controversy, the high-tech solutions, the alternatives.
Yeah.
If you had to boil it all down, what's the fundamental takeaway for our listener?
I think it comes down to that central trade-off. Electronic collars, they offer speed. You can see results in just a few days, and that is very tempting. But you have to weigh that speed against the very real ethical controversy, the psychological risks, the small but real chance of a malfunction, and, most importantly, the absolute need to rule out a medical cause first.
So what does that really mean for a dog owner in the long run?
It means that while the technology can offer a fast fix for the symptom, the barking, our sources remind us there's no magic cure for behavior. A tool is just a tool. It doesn't replace training.
And that brings us to our final thought for you to take away.
Yeah.
The source material keeps coming back to one idea.
Yeah.
In training, you have to show patience and, when you can, understanding. You have to learn to recognize what actually triggers your dog to bark, because a lot of the time, you might be able to just remove or limit those stressors.